Okay.
Hi, T.
Hi, yes. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. How was your day?
It was great, unlike any other New Year I've ever had. So I'm hoping that means this year's going to be excellent.
Why different?
And I did not eat all of my black eyed peas or I did not eat all of my greens. And I have been 100% doing that every single year. And it hasn't made a difference. So maybe by not doing it, that might be the thing.
Southern traditions.
So how about you? How was your day?
It was all right. I got my syllabus designed, so
Yes.
I feel like I've been productive. Now
You
I'm
know,
sitting down, and this will be more fun.
I am not sure about with this COVID stuff. It would be nice if you guys ended up online.
I would hope so, but we'll see.
Hmm.
Anyway, what's our plan for today is that we're going to talk about gig jobs like
Hey,
Uber, Lyft, and Instacart because you've done those things, right?
yes, I have all three of them, in fact, and more. No,
All right, but would you mind if I tell you a dream I just had?
not at all. Please do.
It's completely irrelevant, but
Hmm.
um, you always listen to my dreams. You're so sweet about
Oh,
that. Okay, so I dreamed I was at a friend's house and at her home, and we were in her bedroom talking, and a large lion walked through the door into the room, and she said that was her pet lion named Bob.
Bob the lion, how cute.
I know. And so I said, of course, here, kitty, kitty, kitty. And Bob came over to me and I petted him. But then she had to go out of the room and do something. So I was just on her bed reading a magazine or something. And
Was
Bob comes back in
hmm
and he gets up on the bed and he lies across my legs. And I'm like so honored
Holy
and so
mackerel.
happy. Yes. So then she comes back in and she's surprised because she said Bob doesn't warm up to anybody but her. And so she took a picture of us. But Bob the Lion was gorgeous. He was 20 fur. He was still a teenager because, his mane hadn't grown in fully, tasseled lion
Cute.
tail. It was
He
nice.
sounds adorable.
I
I held
know.
a lion cub once, but it was not, it was amazing for me as a little kid. But looking back, I think they shouldn't have been doing that, letting people hold,
No,
a lion cub
absolutely not.
for and taking a picture for money. That's just crazy. So,
Yeah, well,
anyways,
that's how
yes.
you get diseases in animal populations, interactions with humans and animals. And certainly, I don't think lions should be pets, but still, I
No.
fell in love with Bob for sure.
Oh, I like his name too.
I know.
Yep.
All right. So
Okay.
we should talk about what we're supposed to talk about, right? Uber, Lyft, and Instacart. You've done all
Yes,
three.
I
How
have.
come you got involved in these gig jobs?
Uber, Lyft, and Instacart. So I was basically leaving a job that was as a medical assistant. I had gone to school for nursing since 2004, and at the time it was 2017, I believe. So anyways, that was from 2004 to 2017. I had been dealing with, the health care kind of situation. But being a medical assistant, you're at the bottom of the it's just it's stressful, but I think the stress is not patient related. I think it's more office staff kind of related. So, anyways, long story short, when I left that job, I had no interest in going back to another situation where I was, you know, in an office environment, working like I was working. So I decided to try to do something untraditional. And at first, remember, I was doing the touchstone crystal, which was it's probably about 8 months. I was doing jewelry parties, which was amazing, and that was just really hard to, you know, get the parties going and find hostesses, and it was just building a pipeline. So I started Ubering and lifting, and I had actually considered it probably a few years before when it came out, and I started an application, didn't finish it. But at this point, I didn't have a regular 9 to 5 job. I was doing my jewelry sales, which sales is really hard. And I went ahead and finished that application with Uber. Then I finished it with Lyft, and I was approved with both. And I think it was just one weekend day. I said, well, let me try this out. So I chose Lyft and I went online, and it was my first rideshare experience. And I was nervous, but once I got used to both of the apps and the platforms and what's expected of you and what the full story was, I really liked it for a while. So that's how I got into it. And I still haven't gone back to the medical field.
So you want some Uber stats,
Yes,
2021?
from 21. Yes, definitely. How's Uber doing?
Okay, so today Uber has 93 million customers
Mhm.
and 3.5 million drivers.
Wait,
Is that
93 and
shocking?
3.5. Yeah, it is. But, how often does a customer request a ride? Because
Right.
if there was 93 million, yeah, yes,
And they have 68% of the rideshare market. That's
yes, I
Uber.
believe that. Yep.
And reports suggest that 63% of the rideshare market only use Uber,
Mhm.
while 27% only use Lyft, and then only 10% of the population that uses rideshares use both.
Wow. Now that surprises me because I don't know if you read some or found some stats on that, but as far as drivers go, I know most Uber drivers are Lyft drivers as well, or have been at least during one part of their driving experience. So most of the drivers do both Lyft and Uber, which I've done myself. That's usually how I did it.
Perfect segue. How do they differ? What's different between Uber and Lyft?
Well, Lyft, that was my first experience and that was good. But then I soon found that there's not a lot of business on Lyft because, as you just stated, only 27% of the passengers choose Lyft. But what I used to do was make my schedule. Lyft offers the scheduled pickups. So I could actually go on the Lyft app and see upcoming ride requests, like for the whole week, actually, depending on how far in advance somebody's scheduled a pickup. So I would accept those rides and kind of fill my calendar. And then on nights that I knew or days that I knew were going to be busier, because I live close to a college, I would use Uber because Uber was definitely busier, and you definitely made good money on like the weekends and times when there weren't a lot of drivers, because Uber would compensate. Of course, I think they charged the passengers a higher rate, but I would use Uber for the, I guess, quantity, and I would use Lyft for, I would consider, the quality, because usually those people who did the scheduled pickups, they were usually going to airports, picking up from the ferry over and down the road. And I don't know, it was a different clientele as well. So that was what I saw, that was the difference between the two. And I thought
So,
that the pink of Lyft was so much prettier than the black and white of Uber.
so people who use Lyft are planning their rides in advance, while Uber is more spur of the moment.
Exactly. Right. And with Uber, you just don't know who you're going to pick up. I mean, you can pick up somebody coming out of a bar, you can pick up somebody, which they're not supposed to do this, but sometimes you find that somebody will use their account to take their boyfriend or girlfriend home, and it wasn't, yeah, that's not supposed to be. So that's what happens a lot or it used to, with Uber. So
What about
in
the
my
pet
opinion.
policy? If I want to take Haney on a Uber trip, would they let her get into the car?
Well, when I was an active driver, which I haven't driven in a little while, you were not allowed to take pets with you unless they were service animals on either platform. But recently I was looking at the Uber platform, and yes, they do allow a driver to set a setting in their app that says it's okay to bring your pet with you. There's an extra charge, an extra fee charged if you want to bring your pet. Can you hear Phoebe? I'm sorry. Can you hear her barking to try to get in? Do you hear her talking to
Yes,
me?
now I get it.
Oh, jeez. She's going to drive me crazy tonight. Anyways, oh dear. Okay, so with Uber, now you can bring your pet for a fee. With Lyft, you can still only bring service animals. And if you call your driver first, I believe I read, you can talk to the driver before they come and get you. If it's okay with the driver, you can bring your pet and they don't charge you. So that's what, that's the difference
Good.
between those two companies with their pet policy. But back in the
Good to
day, it
know.
used to be just service animals, but Haney, I don't know, you'd probably have to get like the Uber XL or something for Haney.
Extra big car. Her
Yes,
head bumps the ceiling on your SUV,
I know.
my
I
little lady.
know.
What
She loves
about
it though.
masks? I know you've driven recently during COVID.
Yes.
How is the mask situation handled?
Well, the masks I have driven recently since COVID. Before COVID, I wasn't driving as the pandemic hit. That's when I switched to Instacart. But now that everybody's used to wearing masks, they've, figured things out somewhat. Everybody wears their masks or should. I actually carry extra masks in my glove box. I'm supposed to wear a mask. And on the app, after I drop somebody off, it will specifically ask me if they were wearing a mask. So I am also assuming that the app is checking in with the passenger to make sure your driver's wearing a mask. So everybody has their mask, and we all are probably. You just spray or wipe down your interior before you pick up your next person. And I still keep my windows open. It's not as cold as normal. Not all the way open, but I have some good airflow.
Are you going out of pocket to give someone a mask if they don't have one with them?
Well, I would, and I have, but I have them in my little baggies. They're little Ziploc bags, and I have $1 written on them so that, because I do buy these masks and I intended on, selling them if somebody needed one because I had to pay for it. Of course, I didn't pay $1, but anyways, I have not yet been able to ask somebody to pay for it. I just give it to them. Shame on me. But it's so rare and, they're there. I have extras and I doubt I'll ever charge anybody.
So I couldn't see you being forceful about that. So here are some fun facts from an article in the Los Angeles Times.
Okay.
First baby to be born in an Uber car, 2015, and it was a little girl named Ella Melanie Gilbert.
Holy mackerel. So she was born in the Uber car.
Exactly. I'm sure there's
Oh,
been
man. That's just crazy,
story.
though. I don't know how I would feel about driving while someone was giving birth. I think I would feel much better about pulling over, calling 911, and getting, a moving car. What the heck? Okay.
All right. The longest Uber ride took place for 39 hours. The rider traveled from North Carolina to Los Angeles, a total of 2,256 miles, and had to pay $5,500.
Wow. I don't know. 5,000. I don't know what the price of gas nowadays, but I do the math. It might be worth it. But from what I can see, you're not really allowed to go over a certain amount of miles anymore. So maybe that was before they implemented this change. Because from what I understand, the ride will just end.
Do you think you would be willing to drive someone to California for $10,000?
Well, again, I would have to do the math. I'd have to see if it was really worth it. But you're not allowed to drive more than, is it 12 hours a day? Because before you go online to pick up, it'll ask you if you're under your daily limit of driving. I think it's 12 hours. I should double check before I give you that number. But as you're online, it deducts time from your maximum time. So there's time limit every day that you can drive. So going across country, as a kid, we did that and it took a week, it felt like. And it did. It really did, because we stayed every night in a hotel and this, that, and the other. And that would be weird for me to Uber somebody across country and stopping every night. Of course, that the room would have to be, would be included. I would hope that would be taken care of, but I would feel weird about somebody renting a room in a hotel. That just is too icky, but good for whoever.
Well, you'd also have to Uber from California back home. So I'm not sure.
No, no, there you go. Because I used to recruit for Lyft as well. There was actually a good amount of time I did that. With Uber, you can only drive in the state that you are registered in. With Lyft, you can actually drive in other states as long as you let them know, unless they've changed things. But, a few times I've had to take somebody to the airport in Boston. Well, twice. The first time I took somebody to the airport that's, going out of Rhode Island, you can't get a ride back. So you have an empty car coming all the way back, and it kind of cuts into your profits. And the second time I had an airport ride, I actually asked the passenger, if we'll get to right over the border, across the border, we'll get you another lift to the airport, which worked out better because the person from Mass, they know all the roads, all the streets, all the shortcuts and roundabouts to get to the airport, hassle free. With me, it's like hit or miss if I catch the right sign because I'm not familiar with that airport. So that's what we did actually. But I told him, if we can't get you another driver from Mass, then I will take you the full way, so it worked out well. And I went back over the line, got another passenger and took them where they wanted to go. So that was good. But
Good.
driving out of state like that kind of is a hit or miss. We lose a lot of money.
It does make sense, though, to discourage it because people, the Uber drivers could get lost if they're out of their own little territories.
Oh, yeah. And each state pretty much has their own rideshare driver rules as far as background checks, what they have to have and don't have, the year that how old their car can be. So in order to be legal in all of the states, I guess you could pick the most strict state. And then if you pass that, you're good everywhere else. But, like with Mass, even though I have a Rhode Island inspection, Mass, it used to be when I was driving, it used to be that, you just do their Corey background check or whatever it is, which I had done so I could drive in Mass after that whole airport situation. But then they implemented an inspection requirement. So even though I have an inspection, a paperwork showing that, I've passed inspection in Rhode Island, I also have to get that done physically in Mass, which that I don't drive enough over there or want to drive enough over there to make all that, give it that much effort.
What about Uber Eats? You've had experience with Uber Eats, right? Can you tell me what
I
it is?
have. So Uber Eats is where it's just like DoorDash or, what's the other thing? Grubhub. With Uber Eats, it's part of the Uber app. So you're driving along, picking up passengers. And if you have your Uber Eats switched on, toggled on, then you'll have a request come in for an Eats pickup, which it was, it's usually a fast food restaurant like McDonald's or, Wendy's or something. So anyways, when you accept that, you just go through the drive-through, you let them know the customer code and you get their food order and drop it off with them. I actually liked that because after a length of time of having all these different people in my car, I think I enjoyed traveling with bags of food by myself. Yeah. So that was Uber Eats. It was just like a food delivery only, but it was Uber drivers would do it. So, and it,
It's safer with COVID too. You're not having other
yes,
people in your car.
it definitely is. Yeah.
So before COVID, I was interested in, one of these kinds of food delivery services. But whenever I went on it, it didn't seem to have food delivery from restaurants where I want the food.
Yeah. That's,
Is it?
I don't know exactly how that works as far as the contracts between the restaurants and the drivers. I know that, certain restaurants use certain food delivery companies, like the Thai restaurant down the corner, they use DoorDash or Grubhub, and then KFC uses, I think it's DoorDash or Uber Eats. I can't remember which, but they must have contracts with restaurants that, we're going to use these guys. So you can't just pick any restaurant. You have to use whatever that restaurant has partnered
Oh,
with, I guess. Yeah.
Well, when I was looking at them a few years ago, it was always McDonald's, and I never wanted
Yeah.
to have someone deliver my French fries because I assumed they would be putting their fingers in the package and eating my French fries.
Yeah, no,
I
they McDonald's is really good about sealing the bags. They even seal the drinks in a bag, which, I was worried at first as well. Being a driver, I'm like, how am I going to protect myself against a not a passenger, but a customer that when I deliver it to them, because drivers, we're just as worried about customers doing something sketchy as customers are worried about drivers, and I was thinking, now, how am I going to protect myself against somebody saying I ate half of their food? And when I went to McDonald's for the first Uber Eats, I was so relieved to see they have it completely sealed. They have their McDonald's sticker. The only way that you can open the bag is by breaking the sticker. So yeah, it was good. And there was no worry about somebody putting their hands in or saying that somebody put their hands in. So they even sealed up the drinks, believe it or not, which worried
oh,
me that one was going to spill and then I'd have a mess, but that was okay.
that's good to know. Except I'm still not eating at restaurants.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So I read. I don't know if it's true, but I read that Uber Eats is the most popular food delivery service with 66 million users, and that the most popular food item ordered through Uber is bananas. Could
No
that possibly be
way.
true?
Where in the world did they get the bananas from? Who sells bananas at a restaurant? That is crazy.
I have no idea. I have
That's
read a
interesting.
variety of sources.
Yeah. No, I
So,
used to yeah, the bananas. They're at grocery stores, they're at convenience stores, and the Uber Eat things that I've used. I mean, they've all been fast food restaurants, a few Mexican restaurants. Bananas.
so I've got some information about Lyft.
Uh-huh.
Let's see if this is true based on your experiences. I read that Lyft keeps 20 to 25% of each fare. And
You know,
how do they pay you?
okay, so they actually pay per mile fee to each driver based on their state. They pay a per hour or per minute, I guess, fee based on each state. Let me see, I'm trying to remember. It's been so long since I've seen the breakdown or paid attention to it. I feel like there have been times where more than 25% has been taken, and with Uber and with Lyft. And I can't remember. I know that a few times I screenshotted, the situation because I thought, well, this makes me angry. And it had to be closer to 50% for me to feel like that. But it was ridiculous because the customer paid like $35 for a ride, and I saw maybe 17 or $18 of it. So, but it was crazy. Yeah. So I know that might be an average, but the rides where they take out more than that, really, that's just not fair, because yes, they have the app, they're providing, other benefits, but you're using your car and your time. And, so drivers really do deserve, I think, a little bit more than what Uber and Lyft are paying them for what they're actually doing and dealing with and putting their car through. And I mean, there's a lot involved in doing Uber and Lyft as far as expenses go. So,
You're paid through the app. Do you have
yeah.
some sort of special banking arrangement online for one of these gig jobs like Uber or Lyft to pay you?
Oh, yes. Yeah. So and I always there's three options. You can do, you can get one of the Uber or Lyft cards that's like a Go Bank situation where it's a free transfer of the money you just made. So it comes off the customer or the passenger's credit card and it goes on to your end of the app basically. And you see how much you made and you can cash out, I think up to 5 times a day. So you couldn't cash out after every ride if you went more than 5, but up to 5 times a day you can cash out and it goes directly into your account of choice. If you use their bank, then it's a free transfer. If you use a bank, your own bank, your private, personal bank account, then there's usually a 50 cent charge per transfer. So the third way is direct deposit once a week, and there's no charge with that, but it's a weekly paycheck, which I never did that.
Hmm.
Yes. So yeah, it's definitely a convenient situation with pay,
What about insurance coverage for accidents? I've heard that when the app is on and your app is in driver mode, you have insurance coverage up to $100,000 per accident for bodily injuries, $25,000 per accident for property damage, and then there can be a larger insurance package if there's a passenger in the car.
Yeah, that's sounds right as far as what I'm familiar with. I just know that if something should happen and you're on the app online on the way to, your next pickup or whatever, and something happens, there's like a $2,500 deductible for the driver, to fix their car or whatever. So that's a lot of money for at once to have your car fixed, which is your income. So not only are you without a job, but now you have to figure out, $2,500 is going to come from where. You can't work until you get that fixed. You can rent a car, but that's out of pocket as well. So, and you can, of course, use your own, the driver's insurance for rideshare partners. Yeah. So then your insurance comes in, you have your rentals and stuff through your insurance, but it's crazy.
Were you worried about getting into an accident when you were driving Uber and Lyft?
There's one thing. Let me knock on some wood before I say this. It's the beginning of the year, and no, I've never been worried about getting in an accident. Again, knocking on wood, which, I worry more about a tree falling on me, the comprehensive, is that it? The comprehensive collision? Yeah. I'm not so much worried about collision because I'm a super defensive driver. So I'm, constantly looking like 3 steps ahead of me or more to make sure that I'm not in a situation, even if somebody's coming up behind me that looks sketchy or looks a little unstable, I'll try to stay away from them. So anyways, knocking on wood again, what worries me more are, this has actually happened. Thank God it didn't cause any damage, but I was riding down the road and it was it wasn't a windstorm, but it was very windy. And a tree branch fell on my windshield and hit the side mirror, and it didn't do any damage. But I thought, well, there you go. That's what I worry about. I don't worry about getting into an accident with the others. So,
all right, let's talk about self-driving.
Oh.
I know that in 2018, Lyft had a self-driving option for passengers in Las Vegas, and there are probably others now, but Uber indicated that there were more than 5,000 of those types of self-driving paid trips with an average rating of 4.96 out of 5.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but apparently a driver is still required to be at the wheel in case there's some sort of malfunction.
I don't know how I feel about that. I know during that time, around 2018, I was a Lyft recruiter. So I was trying to recruit Uber drivers to drive for Lyft. And when I heard about this I really enjoyed doing that. So I heard about the self-driving fleets that they were trying out during that time. And I was a little annoyed because what's going to happen to the driver, that I was recruiting. But I didn't see that it was going to happen in the, next few months. So I was okay with it. But what do I feel about the self-driving? I think that, I don't know. I think it's going to, if it were to pick up and actually, become acceptable and everybody was doing it, then there would be a lot of drivers that would be out of their gig work. But personally, I'd rather have a person behind the wheel myself. I don't know. If somebody was in the car, I don't know. I'd have too many questions to them. For them, I would be, well, what if this happened? And what would you do if this happened? So yeah, I don't like the idea.
I actually do. I like the
Oh,
idea of cars driving themselves,
I
particularly if you have
absolutely don't.
people who ingest alcohol. So you think that with self-driving cars, there'll be less opportunity for gig jobs?
Yes, definitely. It might, maybe the people, the factories that are building the cars, they might need more employees, but that the whole work for yourself, which you're not really working for yourself and you're really not making $1 million on it, but it's a paycheck, eh? And you're
Okay, so
not,
you
yeah,
said that you were a Lyft ambassador. You've
yes.
mentioned it a couple of times. What is that? How did you get into it?
I just thought it was strange, but I had been driving, I guess, about 8 months. And looking back, I'm thinking they probably had a team recruiting ambassadors the way they had the ambassadors recruiting drivers. And I do recall a few times giving a trip or giving a ride to this group. And I hope I'm not imagining that I remember this, but I do remember this. I don't know if the people are the same, but somebody was asking me why I like driving for Lyft or which one I like driving for better. And I'm trying to remember, I think I was actually using Lyft. So when they asked me that, I said, well, I think I like Lyft better. It's friendlier. It's just I like the scheduled pickups and this, that, and the other. It's just nicer. I told them. I believe they were recruiters. But anyways, I received a notification and a call from the recruitment team in Boston, and they were interviewing for the positions of, I think they had about 20 positions available for recruiting drivers. And after the interview, they chose a few to go. We all met in Providence, and they offered everybody there actually like a trial. You can do this. If you like it, you can continue. I think that pretty much if you wanted to, you could. I don't know. But anyways, it was basically just getting Uber drivers to download the Lyft program and give Lyft a try. And I really firm Lyfter. So I did Uber too, but that was just, the fill in. The Lyft was my preferred driving experience. So, but, just not enough customers. But
Did you make
anyways,
much
that's how I
money
got
doing
into
that?
it. I did. It was really crazy because as the recruiter, you get a flat rate for recruitment of somebody once they pass all the BCIs and all that other stuff. And then they have a bonus, that the new driver gets a bonus and you get a bonus as well for them doing the rides. And so it was almost like you were making money and not doing, making a portion of your money, not doing anything, which I always feel guilty about. But I will say that I was there for each and every driver that I recruited when they had questions. And, it's really hard sometimes to get in touch with somebody when you need help with support for both companies. You end up it's crazy sometimes getting in touch, but they really do have offices in like Boston and, they have offices all over the place. Anyways, so I did have an in with the Lyft support team in Boston that were live people, so if I couldn't answer their question, then I can find the answer to their question from a person that was doing that right here around the corner. So, yeah, so I felt like, oh my God, I forgot your question. Oh, how did I make money? So, yeah, no, look at me, I'm making like apologizing in advance. So, I feel like I made money without earning it, but I really did earn it because I was a very good recruiter. I completely supported each driver. So, there you go.
What kinds of difficulties did the new drivers have? Did they have problems using the app
Yep.
or?
That's what it was. It's just using the app and finding different things in the app. That's all. Or, entering their information or changing their profile pic. You know what I mean? So it could be anything. I met with one driver a couple of times in Providence because he had actually, not while he was driving for one of the companies, but he had wrecked his car and needed to use a rental car. And I met with him at a coffee shop and we got him hooked up in the app with the rental and, all this other stuff. So it was fun. I felt, because I'm kind of customer service oriented. So it felt really good. But yeah,
So you got to help people and you enjoyed it.
I did. I did.
What was the most difficult thing about driving for Uber and Lyft?
Well, originally, believe it or not, in the beginning, it was stopping because it was almost like you couldn't stop. It was like, it's just like a high. You start driving and you keep getting requests, and it's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And you just can't stop in the beginning as a new driver. And then my family, my husband, he would just be like, Tanya, you said you were going to, I said my name, but don't listen. You said you were going to come home at X time or whatever. And I just couldn't because I kept getting requests and I couldn't just turn it down. So that was one of the most difficult things in the beginning, other than learning the app and, how to navigate everything. Then I would say once I was able to say, you know what, I'm done, then it was probably picking and choosing, I think, because you really have to, they call it, I guess, cherry picking. You pick the right rides if you're going to make a profit. You can't pick the little short rides that are a couple of dollars. I mean, it costs more in gas a couple of times than not. So anyways, yeah. So I think that would be difficult. I think as I was a super duper newbie, I think just starting was the most difficult thing, just going online, because I was so afraid, or nervous, not really afraid for my safety, but I was just not at the unexpected.
Well, there's a question. Were you afraid for your safety ever?
For some reason, I'm a little naive to things, but I felt like it was my car. I'm in control of this. I did pull over one time and tell a person to get out of my car because he had referred to me as the B word. And that was just not called for. He was with somebody else. He had been drinking, but his friend was not. And I just know, I pulled over. It was a safe spot as far as off the road. He wasn't going to get run over by a car, but it was in the woods. So I pulled over and told him to get out of my car. And at first I put the headlight on, not the headlight, the overhead light on. So my whole car was lit up. But anyway, he ended up apologizing because he didn't want to get out of my car. But I guess I could have had that same scenario with a psychopath and probably pushed the wrong buttons and it wouldn't have turned out like that. So, yeah.
I remember when you were driving Uber
Mm-hmm.
in the evenings, you would be stuck someplace and be very, very cold. You were standing outside.
Oh, no, that was when I was recruiting. So with recruiting, what I would do would be call for an Uber driver. And I'd have to wait for the driver to pick me up and they would come get me. We would drive, I would talk to him about Lyft. And then I would go to the next one. So there was a lot of standing outside during my recruitment time, which was fine until the winter weather came. Um, I think one of the most miserable nights that I had was, I was in the city, the town, and I didn't realize that everything closed at 12 pretty much around the area I was at. And I did this a lot at night because there were a lot of drivers on the road. And anyways, it had snowed. I was miserable. I had been feeling, kind of under the weather for a couple of weeks or more. And I had just, thank God, got a new pair of winter boots that were good for the snow. So I was freezing anyways. My feet were fine, but my hands, my shoulders, my head, everything, I was all bundled up, but cold. I went into Stop and Shop because they were open. It was probably about 11:45 and I got some hand warmers and a little pair of gloves. Actually, that night I didn't have gloves and that was the problem. So I got gloves and hand warmers. And then the overhead announcement that the store was closing in like 15 minutes freaked me out. I'm like, oh no, because now there's nothing open and I still have to get a ride back to my car. And my car was a few parking lots away and I got kicked out of the store. Basically, I was using the time I was there to get warm again. And then it was going to take forever for me to get a driver. So I ended up walking to my car, which I misjudged the distance. I thought I was parked in the parking lot that was located right next to the one I was in, which meant crossing the street, climbing a hill that was covered in snow, that actually there was a little snowdrift going on. And, I was going up the hill. I was pulling on these little small trees to help my way up because for some reason I used to climb like a goat, and because I was feeling under the weather, forget it. I was having a tough time getting up the hill. My boots, the snow was coming above my boots. Finally made it up to the top. I'm looking at the parking lot and it's not the right one. I'm like, oh no. So then, and plus I have to use the bathroom. Of course, that always happens at night in the dark. You have to pee. Anyway, so yeah, I made it across the parking lot, got to the next parking lot because there was a little plaza there. And thank God my car was on the opposite side of the last store. And I finally made it to my car and drove home. I was so tired. Boy. So yeah, that was the worst night. And the next day, it's actually about 3 days later, because we had a really bad cold spell. 3 days later, me and my husband went to one of the stores in that same plaza, and I pointed my footprints because I had left these big, huge holes in the snow going up that hill. They were still there. I pointed I said, see, there's where I was talking about, the hill I had to climb, and those are my footsteps. So
that was literally the worst thing that ever happened to you?
Yeah, I think so. And plus that was I was soon after. It was like this was probably December, maybe early December of 19, I want to say 18. Not 18. It was 18 because after that, then I was just feeling like crap. The program ended up ending in January, but mid-December, I started feeling really bad. My lymph nodes and my neck swelled up, and then I had that lymphoma diagnosis. So that explained why I was like under the weather for so long. So that, yeah, I would say I felt the worst that particular night. That was like miserable, that walk. Looking back. Yeah.
And you've gone through the treatment for lymphoma now. How long has it been?
2 years. Yay. So yeah, after that, it was like a whirlwind of treatment, and then it was done. And then, I've been getting checkups. They're all clean. And I think the information that you gave to me and your loved ones for telling me to drink a lot of water, because I did. I was an extreme water hater before all this, and now I can't stop drinking it. And it was because of that advice you gave me.
And I think it probably did help you.
I think
and
so.
Water is good for everybody.
Yes, it is. But I hated it up until that point.
You talked about the worst thing that happened to you driving Uber and Lyft. What was the thing that you liked about it? You kept at it for a while.
I did. Well, there was a time, and there's little segments kind of things happening. Like I really learned a lot about the college scene because I live in a town next to a college or a university, and the kids that are in the university actually party in the town on the other side, because I'm right in the middle of both. Anyways, I learned about that college scene that I didn't know of, that I have at the time. She was 16, 17. So I was learning a lot about what to expect. And the kids were most of them were really, really sweet. And, they were they were so cute. They would go out and have parties and this, that, and the other. But all in all, because I was basically driving on the nights that the kids from the university would go out. And I felt very motherly, with them. Unless somebody took me over to Newport, then I was stuck and it was awful. But the college kids in between, I lived in between picking them up and dropping them off. And yeah, they were sweethearts. And I just thought they were cute. and I learned a lot. So I would think that would be my favorite time. Um, I kind of recruited a friend of mine who was in between jobs to do this with me. And we had the best time. It was like girls' night out. She would drive, I would drive. We would, try to plan on meeting up with each other at a gas station for coffee or something. And we would sometimes be able to do that. But a lot of times we had each other on a Life 360 app, so I could see where she was and she could see where I was. And first ride, one of us, we would text each other laughing because you see their little image on on the Life 360 app. They're in Newport with their little face driving around. Yeah, that was the big. Oh, yeah, she was just as bad as I was. She didn't want to go to Newport. So yeah, it was fun. I think that was probably the most fun part of it, when you have somebody that you're friends with, it's actually, they understand everything you're saying about it, and they have their own little events and stuff. So it's nice to have a friend who does it with you.
It's probably safer too. Wouldn't you say it's safer?
I think it is. Yeah, because Uber and Lyft both offer you where you can share your ride with family or friends or whatever, but it's not the same because it doesn't give you like, well, back then it didn't give you this live kind of situation, and when you have another driver that's on the road with you and you're both driving, she's talked me through some of the stuff, you're getting lost or something, or in the app or something like that. I've helped her find this or that, or look at this, or, we used to compare our ratings. Both of us had really, really good ratings. But if somebody gave us anything less than what we deserved, oh my goodness, we would rant for like hours.
What about Instacart? You started doing Instacart after you did Uber and Lyft?
Yes, I did Lyft and then Uber and then Lyft Recruiter, or Lyft, Uber and Lyft Recruiter, Lymphoma. And then about that time, we had the coronavirus, and I did not feel comfortable anymore doing Lyft and Uber. So, I got my real estate license after the lymphoma. I forgot, to mention that. But no, I finished my real estate classes after lymphoma. I was not ready to take my test for at least a year later. But anyways, so I looked into Instacart. I think they had an advertisement in a grocery store that I shop in, and it was advertising Instacart can deliver to your home. So I applied to that and got everything done and started shopping for other people, which I felt really comfortable with being in the grocery stores while we were on basically lockdown, because I was, delivering groceries to homes. I feel comfortable keeping doing the right, keeping my oh my gosh, what am I trying to say?
Taking appropriate precautions?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Now, this is what I love about you, because you know exactly what I'm saying. I don't even have to say it. So those are my words exactly. So yeah, I felt comfortable with that and confident. I did not feel confident with other people doing that. But anyway, so for a little while, I was doing really well with Instacart and I was enjoying it. I mean, it was really satisfying because there were times that during the height of this pandemic, people had accounts from other states. Mostly they were kids that were taking care of their parents and they were worried about their parents. And one person, and she was in California or New York, I can't remember which one this one was in. But anyways, her parents lived here in Rhode Island, and she just wanted to get some medications, thermometer, and there was something, some laundry detergent, I think it was, because she was so worried about her elderly parents. They lived in their house, and couldn't leave, and she didn't want them to leave. So with her, when I accepted that batch, you communicate with the account owner or the customer. And, she explained that it was her parents that she was shopping for and blah, blah, blah. So on that one, they lived like 4 towns away, and it was like a CVS shop, and I went to the first one and they didn't have thermometers, and I thought, oh my God. So I ended up going to two on the way to her parents' house. I went to two other CVS's just to make, and really the app isn't set up for you to do that, but it worked. I ended up finding a thermometer, and then dropping the items off and, slipping them right inside their garage. It was just really nice because it made me feel like I was helping these people. And I feel like I was, because they had all this, I went above and beyond to get them their thermometer, so I just liked it.
Well, you were doing shopping for me at that time, but not through Instacart. As your
Right.
aunt,
Yes.
who
Yes.
was locking down. I was locking down.
I know, right? Yeah. But I like shopping.
Yeah, I like lockdown, to be
I
honest.
know, right? So we're good. Yeah, no, I like shopping. It's a nice experience. It doesn't, I'm making money, but nowadays it's, because I've looked and they've changed Instacart a bit, and it's not like it was before. Because when everybody started, these bans were lifting and the restrictions were lifting, and everybody now was, the stores didn't limit how many people could shop at once. That's when I was shopping. Now that, when they started lifting those restrictions, that's when I stopped shopping, because now I couldn't feel confident that I was, who knows, what's going on with everybody in there. So that's when I kind of stopped Instacart, because I didn't feel 100% safe.
So would you like to know some stats and history about Instacart?
I would love to.
All right. Before COVID, Instacart operated at a loss. It had fewer than 100,000 shoppers in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
Then when COVID hit, Instacart hired more than 350,000 drivers. That's in 2020.
Yeah, that was
good. and they had 35 billion in grocery sales.
Mm-hmm.
Currently, there are about 9.6 million active Instacart users with more than 500,000 shoppers, and the company is valued at $39 billion.
Wow.
So the use of Instacart has increased from about 13% to 30% of the US population.
Wow, wow, wow. Well, happy for Instacart, but the way, because I personally saw the difference when I started Instacart. It was a time slot, you had to pick a time slot to shop. And then it was, as soon as I started, I may have had 1 week of that system. They changed to the batch kind of situation where you would just take a batch, it would pop up, and, picking and choosing which batches you wanted. And then with COVID, they removed the rating system, or they put that on hold, so that the ratings, your star, your 5-star rating or less, would not affect the batches that you could choose from. And that's, during the time I was doing it as well, which I did have 5 stars, because I really, it's really, it doesn't even, if you hit or miss with that rating system, it just depends on who you're delivering to. I've heard, I've read actually terrible stories where people just are looking for free groceries. So they make false allegations about the shopper, and they lose their stars, and now they don't get any batches. So, and you can't undo that with Instacart. They say that they're supporting, and you know what? I read in my app that they're very supportive of the shoppers. I also read on the shopper side that it's very difficult, if not impossible, to remove any kind of bad reviews or stars that are, even if they give proof that this really didn't happen. Somebody said they didn't get their loaf of bread and you have proof that you delivered it. Yes, all's fine and dandy, but you're still not going to get your star back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of, which reading lately, Instacart, that, the shoppers were going on this, it was a strike, to not use the app. It was supposed to be on October 16th of this year. And there is a group of shoppers, ex-shoppers that are, they're like the organizers of this. And in response, Instacart, because they started, like taking away a lot of the shoppers' profits. I believe it was Instacart or was it a different company? I'm not 100% sure, but there have been instances of like tip baiting where customer would offer like a $50 tip on a $10 order only to change it to nothing when you deliver it, Well, Instacart, they put in there that now the customers have to give a reason why they took their tip away, and if they see that it's something the customer is abusing and doing it often, then supposedly they'll be deactivated, So I don't know if it seems like maybe they're trying, but the batches when I was working regularly for them, they were over, there were some $7 batches, but most of them during that time, I would say average 20 to 40. And then, based on the sized batches. But then during my time, while I was an Instacart shopper doing this every day, they changed it to $7 minimum of batch where, I couldn't understand it because they would have some batches that were like 40 items for maybe $9 and another batch that was 2 items and you would make $10, so there was some weird algorithm that they were, and then there was based on weight. So if you had any one item that was over 8 pounds, you would get extra money for the heavy weight. But customers, and I know this firsthand, that people, or not everybody, one person in particular, they would order half gallons of milk and half gallons of juice. So I actually had to deliver I think it was like 8 half gallons of different beverages. And then instead of ordering a 24 count water or whatever, they would order the singles that were on sale. And then they, on top of everything else, lived on a 3-story apartment. So that was, and it was not far away from the grocery store. So there wasn't a lot of mileage fees involved for them. So it was not a big paying batch, but it was definitely a lot of labor. It was horrible.
Yeah. I looked at an article. It's a CNBC article from May 2020. It's a breakdown of pay for the shoppers. So like you said, it depends on the weight. It depends on the size of the order, as well as how fast delivery was required.
Yep.
There's a 5% service fee. And for shoppers, according to this, the tip is 50 to 60% of their income. And shoppers earn a mean of $10 to $15 an hour.
Well,
and then,
no, I was thinking during the height of the pandemic, I think I was earning more than that, but it's not even worth my time to go online right now because the batches are all like in the 7 and there are really no batches. I think that after this word got out that the shoppers were gonna participate in the strike on October 16th, they hired a bunch of new shoppers. So it's like an oversaturated market and there's just no batches. So that, it's just crazy.
Let's go back to tip baiting.
Yes.
You said it was a situation where a customer would offer a big tip, like $50 for a grocery shopping trip, and then change their mind after the groceries were delivered.
Right.
I read that you have 3 days to change your tip after the groceries are delivered. And I saw that some people disagreed with that policy because you go in a restaurant and you tip the waiter or waitress and you don't have 3 days to change your mind after tipping.
That is true. I didn't even think of it that way. Instacart did change the 3 days because they were saying, to support our shoppers, we have changed our 3 days to 24 hours. So now the person has 24 hours to change their mind. And if they do change their tip, they have to give an explanation. I don't know because I don't do Instacart. I don't order things through Instacart. So I don't know, if that's true or not. If you change somebody's, that's what I had an email in my app that showed that, they did change their 3-day window to 24 hours. So,
Well, having 24 hours to change your mind about a tip
yeah,
still allows tip baiting.
it
Still
sure
allows,
does. It
yeah.
does. It really, because if you think about it, the people that do it intentionally. So they know it that they're going to do it before they even place the order. So 24 hours, 3 days, it doesn't matter,
Yep.
So,
So you were talking about the shoppers going on strike. The shoppers also sued because they earned less than minimum wage and they lacked protective equipment. So
yes.
now I understand that Instacart provides protective equipment, masks,
Mhm.
hand sanitizer, and I read that they also provide thermometers.
That is
Plus,
interesting. And, I did get a little kit from Instacart when I started or when the pandemic started, because it's about the same time. And I received a kit, but back then it was one and done, this is what we're giving you. And there's no way, because it was just like a little t-shirt material, reusable mask, and it's a little skinny pack of hand wipes or whatever they're Santa wipes or whatever they are. And the what is it? Hand sanitizer, small bottle, what you can fit in an envelope. So they may have changed that now. So when you run out, you can get another. But back then it was, here, we'll give this to you. This is your PPE. Now you're not eligible for another one.
yeah,
So maybe they've changed that, which would be nice.
Instacart has also indicated that they've made it easier for customers to tip the shoppers. I don't know if that's true or how they did it.
I don't know. I feel like they've made it easier, but I think there was something with maybe a default that Instacart has set where I know that, oh gosh, I'm not sure if I'm remembering this because of a post, a forum that I've read, or if this came from an Instacart notification. But I think the default originally was 2 or 5% tip. So if a customer didn't change it, then that's what you would get, which was really low. And then they changed the default maybe to 10%, maybe, I think, so that, more people would do they don't even mention the tip. It just automatically happens at 10 or whatever it is. I don't know. There was something going on with that a while back. So that may have helped.
That definitely sounds like an improvement. The shoppers who are unhappy with Instacart were also unhappy because they were considered contractors rather than employees, and they wanted healthcare options and they wanted overtime. Do you
Okay.
remember when the lawsuit was going on, and what were you thinking about it at the time?
I do not actually remember. I haven't shopped since then because I think the last shop I did was in 2020 or 19. I'm not sure.
So I've also read about online bots that are available on the dark web.
Yes.
And those bots allow shoppers to pay the person. I think it's illegal. Maybe $100, maybe up to $300 a month to have the opportunity for the best batches.
Yes, that is illegal.
And what I don't understand is how batches work. What makes a good batch? What makes a bad batch? Is it just the size of the tip?
No, no, no. I think it depends on the shopper, the preference of the shopper, but I know that difficult batches, a lot of organics, a lot of things that you're not familiar with where they're located in the store or that even existed. Those are hard batches because it's really hard to find everything and it typically takes twice as long. So even with a larger tip, not only are you like spreading it over more time, but you're missing out on the batches that you can go in and out. You're in and out and everything's good. Ideally, I mean, then during the pandemic, they had so many shortages and limits and everything that there wasn't really an in and out. But when you had a batch and you weren't familiar with where everything was, or even I loved doing produce. I don't know why. I loved picking out apples and eggplants and all this wonderful stuff. And I felt very happy about doing so. I mean, I may have had to look up, how do you pick out the best mango, which I did actually do. But it just depends on your preferences and what you're shopping for. Sometimes if it says, you'll get a $10 tip, it's a $20 batch, but you're going to be delivering, 10 cases of water and, this, that, and the other, depending on your setup, sheesh, it might take a long time. And so you just have to think about, what is that opportunity lost or cost, opportunity cost.
Oh,
yeah.
That's a good phrase, opportunity cost. I don't use Instacart personally. I just have my grocery store deliver my groceries. But
yes,
I know that they could never find wheat germ. And so I imagine they're searching all over the store for the wheat germ. It could be in the cereal, could be in the baking. Yeah, they have no clue apparently even what it is.
yes,
So
that's annoying.
That would be a bad batch, right?
That would, yes, if you had more than just that. But, sometimes like there are shoppers that are savvy to this sort of thing. And they know that if they took the time to find your wheat germ, whether the store had it or not, that they would be losing out in the long run. So they will, if they can't find it, I think the Instacart tips says if you can't find something in like 30 seconds or something really whatever, don't keep looking for it because now you're just wasting time. So, but the finding certain items, if you are a customer, you can actually watch your shopper. And if you know the layout of the store, because I did order once, I had a free delivery using Instacart with the local grocery store that I used to shop at. And I actually had COVID. Our whole family did back in March of last year. Now I can say last year. Anyways, you can watch your shopper. And I was looking for ice cream cones. Well, that was on my list. And I knew that those are a little tricky to find because of the way the store's, set up. And you could watch your shopper, go through the list of your items, and you can tell when they've passed the aisle that you're going to find your item on. So I actually reached out to the shopper. Hopefully I didn't annoy her because I have a tendency just to do that. And I just texted, the ice cream cones could be hard to find. This is where I usually see them. And I was really familiar with the store, so I could give her the aisle number. But anyways, yeah, she went back and got them. She was having a time, and it was something else that was there. So, oh my gosh, that's the second time my phone, I'm not even near it, has fallen right off the top of my filing system here. Did you hear that?
Actually, yes, I heard that.
Very good.
I'm going to ask you another question.
Okay.
About batches. Did Instacart change it so that you're buying multiple people's groceries simultaneously? And doesn't that get confusing?
It is confusing. I have done it, but I will not do it because it's Instacart. They are taking advantage of the shopper, having them do 3 orders at once. You do 2 double orders and triple orders. And I've actually done a triple order, but they usually, what I've seen is you get a double order. One is a great tip. It's a great tipper. The other one is not so good of a batch. No other, no tip. So they're like compensating this perfect tip that would have been a nice batch with this not so nice batch, that it's just, yeah. So it's also cutting out on the other shoppers and you're just working your butt off. I had a system. A friend of mine joined Instacart and I went with her on her first couple shops and she had accepted a double batch. So I showed her my system, but it was really confusing for her. But I used to, separate the cart with customer A and customer B and just proceed accordingly. Then you have to ring them up separately and, swipe your card to pay for it separately. And then the app takes you through the purchasing process, and then it goes into the delivery process. It will have you deliver to customer A first, which is usually that's the closest, I believe. And then your next stop is customer B, of course, but you still have the opportunity to mix up people's groceries in your trunk. So sometimes you keep, one customer's in your back seat while the other's in the trunk. And, there's all little ways of doing it, but it's really not worth it. And you're really working really, really hard, not making, if you had taken each batch separately, you would have made a lot more money basically as a shopper.
So you're not given the opportunity to select 3 specific batches yourself. Instacart
Correct.
forces you to accept a batch of 3 and they pick out the 3.
Right. And once you accept one batch or a triple batch, you are off, you're not going to get any other batches until you've delivered that one batch or that triple batch. Yes. So you can't fill up your day with batches that that you can do, because you only get one at a time, whether it's a 3 customer batch or a 1 customer batch.
All right. So I understand you've already mentioned that the rating system isn't really fair. Sometimes the customer will give you a low rating when the store didn't carry an item. Yes. And not realizing that it's not the shopper's fault. And that some customers will not give someone a 5-star rating because that's just what kind of people they tend to be.
Right, right.
And that a low rating means that you're not offered the best batches anymore. Is that correct?
That is correct. If you're offered any at all, yeah, you can get. And with Instacart, they have so many new shoppers, and with new shoppers, for the first 30 batches, your rating is 5 stars. So if there's an influx of new shoppers like there is now, then they're all 5-star shoppers, brand new, they're going to get all the batches. There's not going to be any left. And if somebody is too low, when I started, you could see where you're ranked against the other shoppers in your area. So like if you were a 499 shopper, it would put you as number 2. I mean, I don't know if it was because there were so few at the time in my area that you could see your ranking amongst the other shoppers. And the speed of which that you shopped at, you could get, it's a per second item. Like if, you did a 50 item batch and it took you ever how many minutes, they would break it down to each item took so many seconds, and you would see your rating or your ranking, against the other shoppers with that too. And I liked that because that was something that you could get faster or whatever. Anyways, now it's just, you don't, it's hard to, I've seen people that sit in the parking lot of the grocery store and they're waiting for their batch. They're experienced, they offer good customer service, yet they have no batches all day. And Instacart hired, more shoppers that have automatically got the 5 stars. They're getting all the batches, basically. So it's just, I don't think it's really fair. And it was Instacart, by the way, who offered the public apology because they weren't giving 100% of the customer tips to the shoppers. Somehow or another, they were using it as a compensation kind of thing with how much they paid it. Yeah. Nowadays, it's really difficult to get batches, to have, you can't really, there are people still supporting their families using Instacart. Most people that do gigs, I think, do all of them. They try gig workers, they do Uber, Instacart, Grubhub, everything that they can do in their areas that are, participating. So it's really a hard life, actually.
Yeah. At some level, I actually think it's like being an adjunct professor and you earn at a state university, you might earn $3,000 a semester for teaching a class, but you've got to teach multiple classes to make enough to live on that could be across, numerous institutions in the state.
Right.
or across state borders. So it is a tough life.
It really is.
I'm going to ask you a question. What is your rating?
For Instacart, it is, hold on. Okay, let me check my star rating. It is 4.87, which is awful.
According to what I've read, 4.9 is a bad rating.
Yes, that is your rating. But you know what it says? It says your rating is above average. Keep it up. That's what it tells me, which somehow or another, I don't know. I have lost, this is only based on 55 ratings, and they give you your ratings based on the last 100 orders. So they have removed some of my 5-star ratings, I think, because I had 1-star rating and 2-star rating, and that's it. And that was one of those. I know exactly who it was because I usually used to look at this, and there was a comment about, let me go to it. This is fun. I had all the texts back and forth to this particular customer that include, and screenshots that included them saying, yes, let's choose this because, not even because, no, I said they don't have it. This is what they have. I showed them the, pictures of the shelves. They wanted, he said either one. And I'm like, well, great, because I'm thinking, okay, so this is the same price as the other one, but this is the same. It was a protein drink. This has the same amount of protein as the other one, but the different cost. So I basically, had them choose exactly what they wanted, just because that was a really hard choice. I'm really good at substitutions, but for some reason, the price versus the item, the item that was closest to it, yeah, that was a tough one. And I just preferred them to just tell me which one they wanted, and he did. And I purchased it for him, delivered it to him, and then let me see that comment that I was like, what? And then I not appealed it. What is it? I told Instacart this is bogus because here's our conversation. Here's what I sent. This is what they said. This is what I bought, and nothing was changed. Let's see. You all comment, and they don't look at the other comments because my very last comment was my replacements were amazing. It was, Tony did a great job and texted me regarding replacement items. Really appreciate the service. 5 stars. You know how annoying it is that this one person who said did not follow customer instructions. The reason why I know it was this person was because, they don't say who said that, but I had never had anything under the communication category. And here I did not follow customer instructions. At the same time, I had that 1 star. And I just put 2 and 2 together, and I know who it was. And I argued the case, but they didn't change anything. So there you go. I have a 487, and they're missing out because I'm a great shopper.
So you're never, ever going to forgive that person. And if you bump into that person in the street, what are you going to say?
Shame on you. Shame, shame, shame.
We're getting to the last of my questions for you. Overall, do you like working gig jobs?
Not anymore. Yes, no, not anymore, because they start off great, which is probably part of the business model where you suck people in, and then they just take away from my experience.
Which of the gig jobs did you like best? Uber, Lyft, or Instacart?
At the time, Instacart, because I enjoyed shopping, I made good money, and it was better. I liked it. I like recruiting second. So Instacart recruiting, Lyft, then Uber.
All right. Any other comments about gig jobs? Do you recommend them to people?
I think they're great. If you just need a mental break from 9 to 5 in the office, they're great for did you hear that? They're great for adding a little extra pocket money and stuff. But unless, some new company comes along that's trying to suck everybody in, you just have to take advantage of what they're offering at the time and get out at the right time,
All right. Well, team, thank you very much. This has
You're
been great.
welcome, S. And I hope I've answered. I'm so all over the place that when you ask me a question, I feel like I have taken it in so many different directions that I'm hoping, whether it's you editing my answers or, oh, somebody, it's like this brain, somebody can just put it together. You know what I'm saying? I hope I'm not like messing your questions up with my all over the place answers, and I'll try to do better next time.
Uh, I actually was very happy. You did jump
Oh,
ahead to future questions, but then I just went right to the questions again and asked them again. And I think clarification is always good. So I think if someone's interested in these gig jobs, they got the facts about it as well as I could present that, and as well as you could, but also your personal experience. So I imagine that's useful to somebody somewhere.
I hope so. I hope it is actually, because that would make me happy.
All right. Well, I also got to tell you about my dream and Bob the Lion, which made me happy. So you have a good
Yes.
night, and I'll talk to you later.
Thank you, S. Bye.